March the 23rd, 2020. It's a couple of minutes after 9 o'clock. Kerr County Commissioners Court is now in session. If you would, let's stand for the prayer and the pledge. Mr. Harris.
Lord, we want to thank you for the rain we just received. We also ask that you help us go through these uncharted waters that we're in. Look down and help President Trump, Governor Abbott, as well as us locally. Let's help our local businessmen, and please be with our first responders, and especially everybody in our medical field that's helping us. Lord, we ask that you guide us through all these uncharted waters and get us to the other side. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I want to welcome our YouTube audience. This is a new experiment for us, but we are able to go ahead and hold court. And for those of you that are curious, if you count the heads around this room, there are 9 of us in the room. I've got the sheriff posted at the front door, and I've got the court coordinator over here at the side door. And anybody that would like to address the court in person can be shuttled in, and we'll do them one at a time. Anyone that wants to call in, you can call my cell phone number, which is 830-792-6161. The court coordinator has that out in the hallway, and she can bring the phone in here so that we can take your call. Since we don't have any public here, I'm not going to ask for public input because it's just us. But with that, let's go ahead and have commissioners' comments. Precinct 1.
I have nothing to report.
Okay.
Well, nice, well, 2.25 inches of rain.
Good. That's a lot.
There's a couple things in Precinct 2. The Martin Marietta public hearing by TCEQ has been postponed until further notice, so that's off. It was going to be this evening. The alcohol beverage sale campaign had some events planned, and they've all been postponed probably until June. So April the 1st was going to be the kickoff date to start the campaign. It's probably now going to be June the 1st. Okay, so that's been delayed. The another thing, we've got an issue that we'll bring to the court pretty soon that has to do with several line bridges in the county, but the big one is Center Point Crossing Street Bridge. It's the state has laid out a design for that bridge. It's 2-lane. Charlie Hastings, the county engineer, has proposed to the state that they make it a single lane with 2 bike paths and 2 walk paths. And if that passes, then everything's going to be very good. If not, we're going to have to come up with some other options on that. So that's a potential $66,000 hit we'll have to address, but I think we can work around that. So that's all I have.
Okay.
Nothing other than, a lot of meetings have been canceled or postponed, and I think the public needs to really go to anything, check and make sure, because I suspect it will have been canceled.
About the same. Thankful for the rain. I think most of all, Precinct 4 got some rain. Also, a lot of meetings either postponed or canceled altogether. So we'll see.
Well, and countywide, I'll report that our emergency managers, both the city and the county, and as well as the stakeholders, have a regular Thursday briefing over, I can't remember the name of that place, on the 2nd floor of the parking garage, City Hall. Mm-hmm. We met last week. We had school districts, Shriner, K-Pub, Peterson, city, county, and try to keep everybody up to speed on what's going on. As you know, the city has already declared a state of emergency. I may go ahead and do that today. I don't know. A few people I need to consult with. I think it's getting to the point that in order to be able to avail, our local businesses can avail themselves of some of the benefits that are being offered at this point by the state. It's probably wise that we go ahead and do it so we can get everybody in line in time.
You want to elaborate a little bit on what that means to be a state of emergency?
I think it'd be on our agenda.
Huh?
We can't discuss under public comment.
He can explain what it means.
But it's on the agenda.
Oh, it's on the agenda. Okay, I'm sorry. Good deal. Thanks. All right.
Okay, so with that, let's go ahead and go to item 1.1. And what we're going to do is shuttle people in. We've got Dub Thomas here in the courtroom with us now, which makes our 10th person. But 1.1 is to consider, discuss, and take appropriate action regarding an update, facility use, and other matters related to COVID-19. Dub Thomas, our Emergency Management Coordinator.
Morning, Judge. Morning.
Deb, I think you need to go to the green chair so you can be heard.
Yeah, this not business as usual.
Not business. Prop right here.
Yes.
Green chair. Okay. Okay. Good morning, Judge. Morning, Commissioners. Kind of give you an update of what happened over the past week as far as our Emergency Operations Center and some of the things that we've been working on. You all have a copy of this in your emails. I sent it to Jody this morning. She'll distribute it, so you all will have it. For the period ending to actually yesterday, and we're starting a new period today. Our activation level, the Kerr County, City of Kerrville, City of Emergency, City of Ingram Emergency Operations Center is still currently activated, and we're still operating at an increased readiness level. NHH, health and medical, has been implemented, and we're still currently operating at phase 3 of the pandemic plan. The EOC is operating with minimal staffing at this time. Basically, that's myself and Jeremy Hughes with the City of Kerrville. And it also includes a call center for citizens needing information. The current situation, basically the numbers below are the situation in the U.S. as of this morning. Total infected is 15,219 throughout the United States.
Let me kind of interrupt, but let's make clear that this is the United States.
Yes, sir. This
Okay.
is the
This is
United
national
States
numbers.
we're talking about right now.
Okay, good.
Total deaths is 201. Of those, 15,337 are travel related, meaning they've tested positive via travel related incidents. And then the other 321 are close contact, meaning they've been in contact with somebody who's COVID-19. And there are currently 14,561 persons under investigation, and that's of the 15,219. In Texas infected, we have 304. Texas has had 5 deaths.
Can I interrupt, Deb, on that 14,561, the difference from the top number, is that some that have already had it and gotten over it?
That's
Is that the reason?
the 15,219 if you take out the total deaths. You take out the total travel-related, total close contact, that gives you
Gotcha.
14,000.
Deb, so obvious question is, any in Kerr County?
Negative, sir.
That's the important thing.
That's an important thing.
Right.
Yes, sir. We have no reported cases in Kerr County at this time.
And how many have been tested,
I don't have that number. I don't know.
but we have had some tested.
As far as I know, yes.
Yeah.
May I ask one other question? What is the closest that you know of to Kerr County?
Closest confirmed contact is in Medina County.
Okay. And
That's
there,
still just one?
Just one. Yes,
okay,
sir.
very good.
There are, at the last count I had, there were 27 counties in the state that haven't affected or have a COVID-19 case. The majority of them in Texas are the major metropolitan areas. Houston, Harris County, Austin, Travis County, Dallas, Bexar County. And that's where the majority of them are.
John, I'm sorry, we're limited to 10.
Doug, there was reported on the San Antonio News that there's a case in Bernie. Is that not a confirmed case?
No, sir, it's not.
The same in Gillespie County, Fredericksburg, there's the same report. Those are not confirmed.
No, those are not confirmed cases.
I was actually with Judge Schuhart when he got the first one confirmed in Medina County.
Okay.
And it was a family, it was a husband and wife that had traveled to the Philippines,
Oh.
came back through Japan, it was all travel related, and they were tested at the ER at Methodist Hospital in San Antonio.
Very good.
To just continue what we're working on right now as far as public education and outreach, Peterson Regional has established a line for talking with the nurse. We talked about that the other day. I want to continue to put this stuff out. It's 896-4200 extension 1, and that number is for those individuals who believe they are sick or not feeling well or displaying flu-like symptoms. They can call and talk to a nurse.
Could you give us the number one more time?
896-4200, and that's extension 1. In the EOC, the Kerr County, City of Kerrville EOC has been established and is manned with a number of volunteers. We've got 2 volunteers working that can respond to frequently asked questions. That number is 258-1111. It's operating Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. for individuals that may have questions about anything that may be going on in the community. Basically, if there's any canceled local events, closed offices or schools, that type of information is contained in that call center, and those volunteers can answer those questions
Countywide.
countywide.
And let me repeat the number for the public out there. It's 830-258-1111.
That's correct, sir.
Okay.
So what we're talking about there is the canceled local events, closed offices or schools, alternate means for accessing certain local offices, banks, or whatever. As of Friday afternoon at 5 p.m., they feel that 88 calls. The primary questions were to COVID-19 testing and school schedules. Our Kerr County and City of Kerrville websites continue to be updated to include links to Peterson Regional Medical Center, the CDC, and Department of State Health Services websites. One of the things we need to talk about as far as this next week with the members of the EOC is to establish a list of recovery resources to assist citizens with information for assistance with food, utilities, rental assistance, and stuff like that. The shutdown where the governor shut everything down for 2 weeks, if he extends that executive order, there's going to be folks that are going to be hurting for money as far as being able to pay their rent, utilities, and those types of things.
Well, and let me kind of stop you there. I have been contacted, commissioners have been contacted about some of our local businesses that have tried to get interim bridge loans to conduct their businesses. They have been unsuccessful in doing that, and that's one of the reasons that I am seriously considering going ahead and declaring the state of emergency today to facilitate these people being able to get interim financing.
And I've got something else on, well, the next bullet point, Judge, is the Small Business Administration has established an economic injury disaster loan that can provide up to $2 million in financial assistance. If they'll go to www.sba.gov/disaster and click on apply for assistance, it'll go through that process. This information is also available on the Kerrville Chamber of Commerce website. The Department of Health and Human Services issued an alert for a malicious fake online coronavirus map. You'll know the map that everybody can go to for Johns Hopkins is dotted red all over everywhere. There's a malicious website pretending to be the live map for the coronavirus COVID-19 global cases by Johns Hopkins University, and circulating on the internet. And for unaware internet users, it does have a virus attached to it. Visiting the website corona-virus-map.com infects the user with the Azor Trojan, an information stealing program which can infiltrate a variety of sensitive data. It's likely being spread via infected email attachments, malicious online advertisements, and social engineering. Furthermore, anyone searching the internet for a coronavirus map could unwittingly navigate to that one and accidentally pick it up. So I want to get that out there so folks don't start getting malicious attacks on their computers. John, any questions for me?
There is a rumor going around that somebody was going door to door and saying they were checking people. Is that true or false?
I've not heard that rumor.
I'll have to ask the sheriff then.
I mean, that people are going door to door testing people?
That somebody, some scam person was going door to door trying to get a look inside a little old lady's houses, I guess. So I didn't know if you'd heard that. We'll ask the sheriff.
No, sir, I've not heard that. but crooks are crooks. They'll take any opportunity to
That's right.
take advantage of something like this.
I'm not aware of any door-to-door operation.
Well, you know how rumors go, so I want to get it all cleared up here and now today.
Any other questions for Doug?
Good job.
Okay. Sheriff, are you aware of any door-to-door operations?
Any what?
Door-to-door operations with regard to COVID-19?
No, I'm not.
So,
Anybody
for
comes
tho-
to your door,
for those of you in the public, there is no door-to-door operation that the county's aware of at all. So proceed accordingly. Okay, thanks, Deb.
Yes, sir.
Next item on the agenda is to consider, discuss, and take appropriate action regarding the crisis policy for courthouse operations. The governor has issued a number of executive orders, and I know Judge Emerson, who is our quarantine judge at this point, has also given us some instruction with regard to keeping the courthouse open. We've been ordered to keep the courthouse open, and we still have to perform. In fact, there's Judge Emerson in the back out there in the hallway waiting to talk to us, I guess. Are you going to talk to us, Judge?
Doug could leave.
You going to talk to us?
Only if you need me.
No, I was just explaining that we have to keep the courthouse open, and we have to be able to perform all of our essential functions. And that's been the executive order of the governor. At this point, we do have, we had last week, a number of the offices began locking their doors and putting notices up on the doors. As I understand it, though, those doors are not supposed to be locked. We can regulate the flow of the public traffic, but the offices have to be open. Is that your understanding, Judge?
The communication to us was to have the clerks call the Office of Court Administration and they would provide guidance.
Okay, good. So all that's going to be handled directly between the Office of Court Administration and the individual offices?
Correct.
Okay.
Our only requirement is we have to have access to court files.
Right. So, with regard to non-essential services, those have been suspended temporarily. With regard to my docket, I suspended all non-essential probate matters until April the 1st. I suspended juvenile adjudications and modifications until at least April the 1st. Juvenile detentions are essential, and I've been conducting those, and I have another one this afternoon. Mental health commitment hearings are essential services that have to be provided, and I've been going over to the Crisis Stabilization Unit to do that. And by the way, they screen you when you come in. I get the thermometer in the ear. It's kind of nice to know I'm not sick, but they monitor it very closely. That's something, if we wanted to, I guess we could consider whether or not we wanted to screen here at the courthouse. I know several places are using I can't remember what the official name is for the thermometers that go in the ear, but it takes very little time. My thought with regard to the courthouse is, if at all possible, this courthouse needs to stay open. We can reduce staff to skeletal crews. The elected officials, with regard to essential functions, must be available to handle those. They can be available by phone. They can alternate schedule their employees to have somebody here to at least be able to receive any inquiries as to whether or not it's essential or non-essential, and then be able to perform the essential functions. Some of the offices started putting notices up on the doors. This was last week, and I had several people stop and ask me, is the courthouse closed? I took the notices off the courthouse doors. They can put their notices up on their doors to their offices. But the courthouse doors, we're not going to put those notices up because we want the public to know that the courthouse is open.
The main door.
Main doors to the building. Now, once you get inside the building, the individual offices, you may have to get, there'll be a number up there that you can call to be able to access and visit with them. The public should know that nearly all of the non-essential functions, For example, automobile registration, taxes, all of these things have been suspended. And as I understand it from talking to the tax assessor collector this morning, all of that is suspended for 60 days after, it would be 60 days after this crisis is passed. So anybody that's worried about getting your cars registered or getting pulled over, you don't have anything to worry about.
There was an article in the paper today that gave my direct line as the number to call to find out how the courthouse is operating. I've had a couple of calls already this morning, and I can't make promises that I'll be able to field all of those calls. So I don't know what number should have been printed in the paper, but the direct line to my office is probably not the right number to call to find out what offices are open and how they're functioning, and because I don't know how all of the offices
That's
are
what
functioning.
happens when you miss a meeting.
That's right. You're it.
You're it. By the way, to tag on what the judge said, DMV has done the same thing with the renewal of your driver's license.
Right.
Which has no effect on us, but just to throw that out there.
Just-
Well-
Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, one thing that we might consider depends on how the streaming live works for us today. Somebody suggested, and I thought something we might want to consider, is contacting the city and see if we could use their facilities over there, which has live streaming TV. And a lot of people know how to use that, so maybe an option. If this doesn't work for us, we'll find out. But anyway, something to consider. And I don't know if the city would be amenable to that, but could be an idea.
I can hear it in the hall and it's working.
I know, but I'm just saying they broadcast live their proceedings, and they've got the system set up to do it. So, and they probably don't use their facilities over there on Mondays. So,
Well,
if this doesn't work, that's an option.
and FYI, for the public that doesn't know that we're looking at possibly getting a video system
Yeah, right.
for the court.
Right.
The same vendor that provides their service is the one that we're talking to. So.
Right. So anyway, I just put that on the table for it to communicate with the public. It could be an option.
Judge, I think you handle all the elected officials and their duties. What about the county departments that report straight to the court? Who makes the determination if they're essential or not? As an example, I see Reagan Gibbons out in the hall. I know all the departments, as of last Friday, were operating and working within the limits set by the governor. I know the OSSF group down there, Ashley sent me an email and said that she talked to her group and they want to stay open. They can get work done and accommodate the public. So do we leave it up to the departments, or do we want to make some sort of a mandate as a court?
Well, I think as far as being able to reduce to skeletal personnel if necessary, I don't see why the department should be treated any differently than elected officials' offices. And so, to that extent, I think that we ought to give them similar discretion and coordinate with their liaison commissioners. And if we have an issue, then it's something that we can take up. But I don't foresee having the courthouse fully staffed for the next several weeks.
On that,
Probably the next 2 or 3 weeks.
On that subject, the veteran service officers, the Texas Veterans Commission has gone to working online, from home, etc., telecommuting, okay? There was another, I can't talk about it right now, there was another personnel issue within the two ladies there that required them not to be in the office, so they sent messages out, and so the question is, do they need to be here, or can they operate from remotely if they put a notice on the door?
So remotely is fine.
Yeah.
Remotely, as long as they're available for any essential.
They're working all the
Phone
time.
numbers and everything.
Yeah, but this was a semi-emergency. We said, just go do it. So they contacted me and I said, good, and we'd bring it up today.
I think all departments, I mean, within, that's their department that
discretionary.
can work from remotely, and that's fine.
Right,
Some departments can't do that as well.
right,
Yeah, but I think if they want to go on a reduced staff, that's fine.
Yeah.
yeah.
So I just wanted to make sure we have that
Good deal.
guidance.
You know, one
If it was me, and I'm saying to my employees, look, if you feel comfortable coming in, come in. If you don't, don't. And leave it at that and keep the department open. That would be my advice to anybody.
But I do say, I would lean towards trying to have people report, and the reason is perception partially. County employees are gonna get their paychecks. There's a lot of people that aren't. It's difficult to justify people in the public that county employees cannot work and get their paychecks. They don't work and they don't get a paycheck. So I think they should be here, if at all possible, working accommodations. I think they should be allowed. We have I guess, an unwritten policy, maybe it's a written policy about bringing your kids along. I think that should be used with some discretion. But there's a lot of work that can be done in the courthouse by all the offices, even if the offices aren't open to the public. And I think that we should encourage that as long as everything's safe and they're following the guidelines set down by the governor.
Well, I made the rounds Friday and just a morale check, see how everybody's doing. And the comment I heard most was, we're getting a lot of work.
Sure.
So they're getting more work done now than when the courthouse is full
You bet.
of folks.
I think,
In fact, I think I told Commissioner Harris this morning, I got more done at home this weekend than I did forever.
And that's
Just being inside.
There's another thing is we are acknowledging and honoring the 6-foot distance between people. We turned off the fans in here today. We should keep the fans off as much as possible, anywhere and everywhere, because if the coronavirus is airborne, it can stay there for 30 minutes according to the doctors, okay? So why we ought to keep those fans off from circulating the air and promoting it. Otherwise, the 6-foot distance doesn't make any difference.
Now, one of the things that I'm interested in doing is making sure that we have some of the commissioners here at the courthouse. I want to just figure out when it is we can come up with a rotating schedule or what have you, but I think it's important that the people know that county government is open. And I've already talked with the court coordinator, and I plan to be here pretty much the whole time. And I would encourage the other commissioners to at least find the convenient times for you to be here, so that we are seen. And I want the public to know, kind of like Tom Bodette, we're leaving the lights on, and the courthouse is open. We will be flying the flag.
Why doesn't Jody make us a schedule, so make sure somebody's always here?
Okay,
That'd
we'll
be
do
good.
that.
That'd be
We'll do that.
great.
Sure. I think the schools are doing the same thing as far as their office staff and administration buildings and what have you. Maybe not having everybody there, but rotating them through the different schools. I know Ingram's doing that. But we do have the responsibility of keeping the doors and lights on, as you say. There's things that need to get done. And some of the offices will be closed, but a lot of it can be done over the phone, so it's not like everybody's gone home.
I'm getting regular calls. Is the burn ban on? Is the burn ban off? I got a pothole. Life goes on. We got to get stuff done.
Right. Well, good. Anything else on how we want to run the courthouse during the crisis? Okay, then let's move on to item 1.3, is update from the county attorney regarding the responsibilities of the county judge and commissioner's court should Kerr County approve a disaster declaration, which I am considering.
Yes. The court can approve it beyond the 7 days. Among the powers granted to the county judge under the Chapter 418 is the authority to suspend procedural rules and laws, use public and private resources to respond to disaster, control the movement of people, restrict the sale and transportation of certain items, and take a number of other actions. Once a state of disaster is declared, the city or county may enact emergency ordinance or order describing the specific emergency regulations that are to be put in effect during the disaster. Some examples of the types of things the court can do, or the judge has the authority to do in that order. I will tell you.
Heather, is there a difference between disaster and emergency?
No, not really.
Okay.
We had a conference call Friday morning, I think it was, with Beth Thomas, the sheriff, chief deputy, and we also had Summer Ray from the governor's emergency management office in San Antonio on the line with us. And I asked that very question: what's the difference between a state of emergency and a state of disaster? And other than one is preparatory and the other one is present,
I see.
there is no legal distinction between the terms, as Summer explained it. And so at this point, we're not in a state of disaster yet, but we are probably in a state of emergency. And there was an article in last week's paper in the Daily Times that explained a lot of this that was actually very accurate. I was impressed that they got Chapter 418 as accurate. Well, I mean, it's complicated stuff, but I mean, it was spot on. And for the public to understand that the mayor's declared a state of emergency for the city, and he has the right to do that and the responsibility to do that. I did not declare a state of emergency at the time because we were kind of twiddling our thumbs waiting for the virus to get here. And it kind of seemed disingenuous to step up and say, state of emergency, and then sit back down and keep waiting. But it's closer. And I don't know if a lot of people probably don't know that we do have several people in the county under quarantine that we are monitoring. And that's a very active monitoring situation that we stay, their temperatures, and et cetera, to kind of see where they are with it. We do not have a positive confirmed case of any kind at this point. And so, and mainly because of some of the economic considerations, I'm leaning towards probably declaring that today to try to get some of these programs in place to try to help our citizens.
Now can you explain it? Why that is and what it means?
Why, what is?
When you declare.
What you
it.
just
One of the
said.
things is,
The monetary,
There-
the assistance, so on.
one of my constituents called me and mentioned that, and this was Thursday, and things have changed since then with the governor, but at that point, he wanted to get a SBA loan, bridge loan, and he was denied because he was in Kerr County, and and we have not declared declaration of emergency.
That's
So
what we need to know.
that's, so I presume that there may be other programs that may kick in, fall into that type of category. I mentioned that to the county judge. Now, after that, the governor declared a statewide emergency, so that may override this one. I don't know, but I think that we need to do what we can to help small businesses and individuals if that is a criteria that they need.
Why don't we get a clarification on whether that's the case or not, rather than, we don't have a confirmed case in this county.
No, we do not.
If we're gonna help our citizens in the way that Commissioner Letts is talking about, I'm all for it. But if it's a moot point, if we could get clarification on that, I'd feel more comfortable waiting until and unless there's a confirmed case.
If a prerequisite would be just being a state declaring
state
it,
declaration.
overriding it, then
Yes.
so be it.
Plus, there's some things at the national thing as of this morning where they're hoping to do something like small business, anything like that, they can go to the bank, get a loan, and the federal government will back the loan.
In order for us to get reimbursed for our expenses, Kerr County, we have to enact the declaration.
That's the county.
And-
What about the SBA stuff?
I don't know about the SBA stuff, though. Do you have any input?
I'm pretty sure we would have to have declaration.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it can't go into the state declaration.
We'll find
think
out.
That's what we're trying to figure
I
out.
think Summer was gonna try and get us an explanation of that. I'll get in touch with her today and find out.
Good.
See, I would rather err with declaring it than not, because they can't wait. They need to get money, some of these businesses.
Right.
And it'll take time to get it, so them being delayed another week may mean people being laid off.
So the question is, what does it mean to somebody, what does it mean to citizens that are not small business related? I mean, when we declared emergency, what does that mean to them?
A little more panic. I
No,
think.
no, do we know? So what does it mean to the regular citizen?
It gives the judge certain powers under Chapter 418 of the government.
But what does it mean to an individual?
So to an individual, the judge could, this is the judge's authority. He can act a curfew. He can regulate movement of people and occupancy of premises. He can enact rules related to price
Okay.
controls. He
Doesn't
can
mean-
protect them in
Doesn't
particular
mean he
ways.
will, but it means he could.
Correct.
Yes.
Correct.
Okay.
Throws down.
So all I'm thinking about is if we declare an emergency, okay, what does that mean to people's concern and anxiety and all that kind of stuff when we don't have a case
Well,
in
we
the
did
county?
the same thing when Hurricane Harvey came through. We did that because it was primarily going to be an economic disaster.
Right, I understand that, because we got
And
funds for
right
that.
at this point, you're probably looking at an economic disaster if all these businesses had to shut down because they're no longer.
Well,
They're already shut down somewhere.
irregardless, if we don't have a case, we're still being affected. Everybody's being affected.
Economically, yes.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
Okay.
Well,
I'm all for helping everybody, but I
Me
just,
too.
if it's not necessary, I just think we ought to know. Is it necessary, or does this, has the state declared this basically for everyone to get an SBA loan or bridge loan or whatever it is? It'd
well,
be good to
so
know.
that the public understands.
Yeah.
The mayor, in his singular judgment, had the power and exercised it to declare a state of emergency for the city of Kerrville. I did not last Monday. I have that same power, according to Chapter 418. I believe that's what my county attorney is telling me. I have resisted doing that, mainly because we've been waiting. We have discussed that is what triggers our reimbursement from the federal government. But we haven't had that much time that we've really spent getting ready for this. But this week, I think it might be changing. And so I am considering doing it. It is not a court action. It is my action. And I am hesitant to do it. But at the same time, I want to make sure that we maximize all benefits that are available to our people that are out of work and that may be affected by the COVID-19. I do not want to alarm anyone, and so I'm speaking to the public right now. We do not have an active case in Kerr County. We don't know if we're going to get one. You know, we can pray for a miracle and hope we don't. More than likely, we are going to have one at some point. Where we are right now is our preparations are gearing up even more. And our citizens are being more affected the longer this goes on. And so that's why I'm considering it and make a decision later today. The powers that are granted, I wanted to make sure that we all understood, and that's why I wanted the county attorney to explain that, because they are very broad, and it is power that is given to the county judge and to the mayor. And for those of you wondering out there, what if the mayor and I disagree? The statute provides that my decision prevails. That's what it said. It was in the paper, which was very accurately reported. The mayor and I have made arrangements to meet this Wednesday afternoon. We're in regular contact. I don't foresee that we're going to disagree about any of this stuff, and we do have our regular Thursday morning meeting with all stakeholders. So that's kind of where we are on that. Is there anything else we need to talk about with regard to?
Question, after that Thursday morning meeting, how do you disseminate the result of the meeting to the public? You know, like the president, after they have a meeting every morning or something in the evening or whatever, he has a press conference. It'd be good after Thursday, when all the stakeholders have something to say, give an update to the public.
Well, of course,
Maybe that's if anything changes, if there's genuine news. Commissioner Mosier said when, I'm saying if.
I think that if there's a summary of any developments, it can be put on our county website. I mean, I think trying to get it, you know, and then the press or anyone else can pick it up from
Well, that'd be
Sure.
fine. That'd be
Lisa
fine.
is
And Lisa
very
go
helpful
with
in
you?
that regard.
no, Lisa hasn't gone with me, but
Can she?
she could. It's not necessary that she go with me, but
Based on what you've seen in the meetings, would it be beneficial? Is there any, are we making sausage? Are you finding out revelations? Are you? Just updating.
Well, I'm happy to update you on the major things that we talked about, other than the emergency management plan, which we now have, we're in phase 3. I think, was the city talking about going to phase 4?
Not at this point, no, sir.
So we're all at phase 3. We had the report from Chief Knight, from Kerrville Fire Department, on state of preparations, and Jeremy Hughes gave a report. Eric Maloney, who's the head of EMS, was there. The mayor and city manager were both there, giving us kind of the state of where they are with things. The city has indicated that if it gets bad enough, they will lock the city hall doors. And I took issue with that because I don't want to lock the county courthouse doors.
I'm going to give you an example, Judge. Some people in our neighborhood, we have a gate for the community. It stays open during the day. Some people want to close it at all times because they'd heard that, sort of riot things where people were delivering things and other people were attacking them, so they had to have police escorts in Fort Worth. And so I tried to alleviate some of the concern that people have by talking about the emergency management plan. I said, we've got a good emergency management plan. There's a whole annex on this type of thing. The sheriff has 42 deputies, et cetera, et cetera. There's no reason for everybody to panic about this because they didn't know how organized the county was in being responsive to something like this. So what you just said, I thought was very interesting. You met with the EMS folks, you met with the city police chief and all, and everything is understood and organized and communicated. I think something like that, the public, that would help the public not to be too concerned about what's happening in Kerr County, knowing that it's very accurately, thoroughly, I should say, controlled.
Another comment on top of, or with that, Commissioner, is that I visit, the county judge on a probably more regular basis now than I used to. And part of the reason was when this started, he was out of state. And all of a sudden, it was like I contacted and talked with Dub, is that if for whatever reason, the county judge can't act, it goes to the senior commissioner. Mm-hmm. And so this, for the public to be aware that the judge and I communicate pretty regular on what's going on. And I think he does with everyone else, all the rest of the members of the court as well. But I think that it's, there's a plan in place if the judge can't do something.
Right.
And if I can't do it, it goes to, I guess, Commissioner Moser.
Right.
So, there's a process that's set up in the emergency management plan that we are following and we're working within it.
Most of the people don't know that, though. That's
Right.
a very positive thing. It's a really good plan.
Well, and let me share a couple of the other things we talked about last Thursday that are public worthy to know. We had KISD, Dr. Faust was there, and he announced that all the school districts Thursday at noon closed school. And that's when the announcements came out. They all happened at the same time. We got to preview Thursday morning, and then they announced at noon. He announced that KISD was not going to set a termination date. They left theirs open, and that's because they're trying to prepare for online instruction. Charlie McCormick was there for Shriner University, and both Dr. Faust and Dr. McCormick talked about they have a lot of employees, especially coaches, since they've shut down all athletic activities for the rest of the semester, that need to be reassigned duties. And they're looking into what can be done, looking at possibly pooling resources. The big issue du jour, which was not an emergency management issue, but it is certainly a community issue, is childcare during these times. And one of the things that the school district and that Shriner University are working is possibly trying to come up with some sort of collaborative to be able to facilitate childcare for our healthcare workers at the hospital, as well as those teachers that are continuing to try to educate the children.
Using the people at Shriner University.
Either using the people at Shriner or at KISD, but it's a collaborative effort. And so one of the things that we agreed was to form a committee, a child care committee, that's going to report back to us this Thursday to see what can be done. At one point, it was suggested that since the hospital is just right down the street from the Methodist Church, and the Methodist Church has a daycare program, they try to set up child care at the Methodist Church for a bunch of kids. Well, I interjected that we still have the limitation of 10 per gathering. And so, we can't just take all the kids out of the school and put them in one place. If we're going to do this, they're going to have to be spread out so that we can comply with the governor's executive orders. So that's something that I was very encouraged by. That felt like that was progress that we're making. K-Pub was there. They gave us a report on grid management. We're in good shape. We're ready. Corey Edmondson was there for Peterson, and gave very informative information with regard to the testing. For those that don't know, the way the testing will be done is nobody goes to the emergency room. Let me repeat, no one goes to the emergency room. Any testing has to be done through a doctor's order.
Yes.
Once you have the doctor's orders, then you can make an appointment. But nobody just shows up. We talked about the actual test itself. They take the swabs here, and they're shipped immediately to San Antonio, and it's the lab in San Antonio that does the testing. So they will be tested in San Antonio, but the specimens will be taken here. There is an exception for law enforcement and healthcare providers. They do not require a physician's order, but they still have to be screened by their respective offices, and they can be tested directly. There is a drive-through testing facility that they have in San Antonio. They told us where, but they told us not to tell the public at this point because they don't want people swamping it. But my understanding is that there are 4 lanes. It's a very large facility. There are 4 lanes. You stay in your car, you wait your turn, and they test you at that point, and then we'll notify you later of the test results. So I was very comforted by the fact that it looks like to me that our healthcare providers have come up with a good system to do testing. But these are the types of things that were talked about.
Right.
And I understand that, I'll go this Thursday. Dub and I will be there this Thursday. We're pretty much sidekicks on these things, so.
Well, what you just said was the first time
Enlightening.
I've heard it.
I know.
You know,
Good
so
information.
that's my point. It would be good if the public heard what you just said. I think it's very important.
And I agree, but one of the things that we're limited with is the Open Meetings Act. So we have to be here for us to share it. And so I'm glad I did have the opportunity to share it.
But you can tell we have
Yes.
we
And
have
so
public relations.
I will coordinate
right.
with Lisa and make sure that I get her briefed so that we get a press release every Thursday after the meeting.
Right.
And any other interim reports that come up.
That would be fantastic. Good.
Without a
And
doubt.
just as an aside, she's been doing an excellent job.
She has.
Excellent job.
Without a doubt.
So,
Okay, good deal.
okay.
Judge, before we leave that, one question with the county attorney. If the judge does choose to declare a disaster, the court, to extend it beyond 7 days, the court needs to ratify it?
Correct.
That's correct. Okay.
These orders last for 7 days. That's why you read in the paper that the city extended it, because their 7 days was about to expire.
Okay.
If we do it today, then we meet every Monday anyway. At this point, then it would be a weekly revisit of the issue to extend it.
And you can also, if I read one of the governor's orders, it can be done through a virtual meeting. If we cannot
Yes.
attend, you can
Yes.
waive the requirement that we can do a virtual meeting.
Okay.
And for the public that doesn't know how technologically challenged I am, this effort to be on YouTube today was Herculean on the part of our IT department, which we are very grateful to. But we're trying to figure out how to adapt to these times.
Right. Doug, did you get some information on,
Yes, there is no difference between the governor's disaster declaration and ours. So for those SBA loans, the governor's declaration should be sufficient. It covers the entire state.
okay,
Okay.
good to know.
More
Good to
good
know.
information.
So the only reason for the county judge to declare an emergency is if he sees that he needs some of his additional powers
At
specifically.
this point, yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good.
Thank you.
Or to reimburse y'all for meetings that you're sitting in specifically in regards to this.
I think the governor's declaration will cover us there as well, as far as tracking our resources, tracking our expenses,
I
Okay.
can
getting
say,
reimbursement.
One thing real quick that I think, YouTube is working great. We have it set up out in the hallway. I would have Lisa or one of y'all explain exactly how to find it and get onto it. It's a lot different than.
Should put it on the website.
YouTube. We need to put in
Just link it to the
directions so that the public, general public, can find where to go exactly in YouTube to get to it.
And it needs
I
to
had
be
to get IT.
It was in the Daily Times on page 12, the upper right-hand corner, the exact contact information. I read it this morning.
I had to get
Page
IT
12.
to help me.
Was it in the
locate
San
all
Antonio
that.
Express
And then
News?
I could care less.
Well, that's where they post public notices.
The thing is, to actually find it, Judge, I had to get IT to even help us actually
Right.
locate it on YouTube. It's not as easy as what you
We'll,
think.
we'll work on getting that
Do we have a
easier.
channel name?
Okay.
Thank you.
That's what we
Put
need.
it on
We
the
just need a
website.
channel
You
name.
also need to post it on the upcoming agendas.
Oh, okay. Good idea.
On that, just for clarification, in light of all the emergency declaration on, do we, if the commissioners had to meet and do it without 72-hour posting, is that possible?
For emergency meetings, you can, the posting requirements are still required under the governor's order, but you can meet
So,
virtually.
so if the judge said emergency, we could all meet?
Yes.
I think
Okay.
it's a 4-hour minimum, isn't it,
Okay, good deal, thank you.
for the notice?
Okay, good deal.
Okay, let's segue into 1.4 that I put on the agenda, and that's to consider, discuss, and take appropriate action regarding the declaration of a state of emergency to address the interruption of 911 service to east, or it's actually east and west Kerr County, from trenching and boring on Highway 27. This is an issue that came up this past week where I was considering whether or not to, there's Mr. Del Toro. Okay, Dub's out, Mark's in. Green chair right over here, Mark. This is Mark Del Toro of 911.
Good morning, Commissioners. Good morning, Judge.
Morning.
The telephony issue I was notified about last week in a late afternoon telephone call by Mr. Motherall asking me if I knew about a fiber optic cable cut. I wasn't aware until he told me. Did a little bit more research. Patrick Tinley from Hill Country got a hold of me, let me know what happened, and expressed his concern that if the contractor continues, we could have another situation. What was it, Tom, maybe 3 years ago, 4
Yeah.
years ago?
Right.
We
Let-
put in a.
Let me kind of interrupt, Mark, and give the public a little bit of background and the commissioner a little bit of background, because this did come up last week, and you and I spoke. I talked with Patrick Tinley, as well as Rusty Henderson with Windstream. The construction that's going on is along Highway 27, both in East and West Kerr County. And it's a TxDOT contractor. I think there are multiple contractors that are doing this work. And I don't know all the details about how they're doing it, but I know there is some boring and there's some trenching. But they are using the right-of-way along Highway 27 to install, I guess, more fiber
Yeah,
optic
there's
cable?
more cable, more ducting going in.
And the problem is that they severed existing fiber optic lines, Ethernet lines, in a number of places, and on a number of occasions. And they even hit a gas line in front of Shriner University.
That's what I heard.
And it's just been a mess. And and the calls that I started receiving, and I've talked with Mark, I've talked with Patrick, and I've talked with Rusty. I was requested to order them to cease and desist. Just so the public knows, even though I might be an elected constitutional county judge, I don't have the right to walk around town and order people to cease and desist to do things. In order to do that, we'd have to go through a judicial process, a judicial proceeding. You can always file a civil lawsuit and get a temporary restraining order for stuff like that. It's somewhat cumbersome to do that. That was the advice that I gave, I think, everybody. I mentioned that to you, Mark.
Yes.
That was one way to go. We took a look at the Chapter 418 powers that we just discussed to see whether or not we thought they were broad enough to arguably include a cease and desist. I think the orders do allow me to, or the mayor, to order ingress and egress or evacuation. I can commandeer properties. I can do a lot of things, but it doesn't clearly say that I can order somebody to cease and desist. But I think a reasonable construction is that probably could if it really were a threat. And the threat, so I want the public to understand, is that we cannot afford to have any portion of this county, without 911 coverage during this crisis. And we were at risk for that.
Could I ask a question then? We had, Mark's right, 3 years ago we discussed this, and we have redundant loops, so we did not have this kind of issue, so go from there.
True, we do. We have two physical networks to transport all, not just 911. We did that first with Hill Country and Windstream.
Right.
And then they did a plan to transport all of Kerrville communications
Right.
over two legs, different routes to San Antonio.
Just for credit
We
for
had
Hill
one-
Country Telephone, notice,
Yeah.
they spent a lot of their own money
Yeah, they did.
to make sure that we've got redundant paths of communication.
At 8 a.m., I believe it was on January 13th, 3 years ago, contractor in Bernie tore up the fiber, one of the main legs. We were halfway down. No problem. I still have survivability for the 911 network. 4:30 p.m. that afternoon, in Bandera County, where the other leg goes, another contractor severed that fiber. We were toast.
Right.
911 was out. All Kerrville communications was out. It was, people were going nuts.
Make clear that was 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Right. So
We
now,
can't afford to have that.
bring us forward to today, do we still have communicate? So this cutting the fiber, that didn't jeopardize our,
It did not jeopardize our communications.
right,
But if we hit that same scenario that happened 3 years ago,
The perfect storm.
Sure.
and
if,
right now with
if there were
what's
two
going on-
cuts.
Yeah, if there
Yeah.
were two cuts,
Right,
we're
okay,
toast.
good enough.
So it's like being able to get out of your driveway, but the doors are blocked, so, I mean, the roads are blocked, so
Take two failures.
Two cuts.
Take, take two failures to do it, okay.
you can't go either direction out of your driveway, you're gonna have to stay there.
Yeah, we put plenty of safeguards in place so we can get the calls back to our call center, but when the calls can't even get to the selected router,
Right.
there's nothing we can
Right.
do.
Right.
So in summary, we've got redundancy, cut one, you still got capability, cut the other one, you lose,
We're done.
you lose. So it takes two to do that.
But these contractors have cut multiple times in multiple areas at the same time.
Right.
And
Well,
from
but
my
this is,
understanding, Hill Country was able to make their repair. They have a temporary line set up, so they're back online.
right,
But we can't run the risk of that happening
Right.
again.
But to dovetail this back with what we've been talking about, one of my considerations in whether I should declare a state of emergency is we may need to stop this contractor if this is going to threaten connectivity to 911 in the county. We cannot have that.
So
So
this
they-
would,
so-
this would just be one of them though, Mark.
Yeah, that's it.
so for clarification, where this contractor's working, he can violate one of our lines of communication. He's not working in the area where the other line of communication is, correct?
They're all over.
Well.
No, I understand, but
well,
I'm
on
trying to
this- on this
understand where this
particular
one
leg, from
contractor-
My understanding, that's the path down 27 to I-10 and then on into San Antonio. And
Right.
then the other one goes way out.
Way out to Bandera. So
We
he's
have about
not,
a 40-mile separation. on
so
this
he's
one.
not working, this contractor along 27 is not working in the other area.
But we don't know that maybe AT&T.
Somebody
might
else
have a
may be,
sub.
right,
We
right.
don't know.
Okay,
So, but right now, you still would have the one backup.
Correct.
Okay, you got a back door for this.
Except, if I may interject, what Pat Kinley told me was that if he's on the west side of 534, okay, between right there, and if he cut one between there and say Shriner College, I don't know if they're past that point, it would be cutting wind streams back up and totally going to Bandera and their router. It would totally isolate wind stream.
oh, I
Yeah,
see.
we have what's called a meet point, and if they get to before that meet point, then we're done.
Then we're.
So it's a single point
Yeah,
failure.
where Windstream
Yeah,
lines off the Hill
exactly.
Country.
So it's a
And that
single,
doesn't sound like good redundancy, really. I mean,
No.
it sounds like
It
it's,
protected us because of all the construction at the time that was going on along I-10 between Comfort
Right.
and Bernie
so we don't have redundancy at one area.
in this one area,
Okay,
in the
Okay.
county.
okay, all right. So what
And
does
so-
it take to get redundancy there?
It's gonna take getting AT&T, Windstream, and Hill Country.
That's what it did before, right? We had AT&T, Windstream, and HCTC all together, and we all agreed how to do it, okay? So I look at eliminating that single point failure.
Well, I was told Hill Country is above ground from this point out to
Yes.
the airport. Okay, so it will not affect them, but it would totally cut off Windstream. Okay, so you'd still have Hill Country going above ground, but Windstream is what's below ground the whole way.
Okay, anyway, it should be looked at. Okay, good deal.
But the issue du jour is if we invoke the state of emergency powers, my construction of the powers that are granted would be broad enough for me to be able to order these people to stop until this crisis passed. And if they want to take me to court, they can. But I would have the enforcement power to be able to protect the county and our 911 system in the meantime.
So
That's
the
just one of
idea
the
would
issues.
be to basically suspend this work until we feel like we're out of the woods.
Now,
And
trust me,
make it
TxDOT
broad
does not want me to do that.
Yeah.
And make it broad enough, it covers any contractor, just
Right.
not them.
Sure. And going back, they cut one line and a gas line, one fiber optic
They've
line?
got the fiber optic lines in several places,
Several
and then they
places.
hit the gas line in front of Shriner. It's been a comedy of errors. And it's not just one contractor. For one contractor, it'd be a lot easier. It's
Oh.
multiple contractors.
And part of the problem is because, and correct, help me with this, Mark,
Yes, sir.
that we have a general idea where this stuff is, but we don't know exactly where it is.
That's correct.
That's right. And they have to rely on the Texas, the dig alert service, the locate service. And, you know, that's fairly accurate, but, you know, I don't know, maybe they just don't know how to control.
Remember 3 years ago, we found it was not very
Yeah.
accurate, right?
You see, now they're out there digging with backhoes and stuff. Do they put a crew in there with shovels first to figure out where
That I
stuff
don't
is?
know. All I've seen at this point is the horizontal boring
They're-
machines.
they're boring
and blind.
everywhere as far as I can
They're
see.
Yeah,
blindly
so
drilling.
It's just, they're just
But
boring.
the one, I want to say in Bernie, they were just
They-
digging
they
a
were
hole
digging.
with a
They
hammer.
were putting, it was a plumbing company, actually.
Yeah, yeah. So all of that, you know, we don't have our infrastructure mapped out very well. And the way it was explained to me, and you may have been the one that explained it, or one of the guys at the office, if you have a trench that's 10 foot wide and you drop that cable in there, it goes
Sure.
back and forth. So you can be digging and you think you're 4 feet away from it and it's right up at the edge in that spot and you tear it up. Because I kept asking and asking, why in the hell does this keep happening? And then finally they said, okay, and you have to know that stuff. Otherwise it's just abstract that we think we have a bunch of idiots running things, and we don't. It's just not mapped out very well.
It's not, and it's very difficult because a friend of mine is a contractor that installs this stuff, and there are underground obstructions
Yeah,
that they have to go around, so
Right.
therefore, it's deviated right there.
especially here. Lots of rocks and stuff.
I just want our conversation to reflect that we're not talking about what the civil liabilities are for this, or even what the criminal liabilities are. There are certain criminal liabilities that attach, depending on if it's properly marked or not. But what we're concerned about right now is an emergency situation. It gets back to the state of emergency. Is this something that, if we declare a state of emergency, will I be on the phone this afternoon telling these contractors to stop?
Well, I would think that if a line is cut and we're down to one, the backup,
Well, they've got it patched. It's patched back right now.
exactly. But if
So
it
now
happened
we have-
again, at least till we got it patched back up.
It's patched, you said.
If it happened again,
The one we're
You know.
talking about.
yeah.
So-
Could I ask, what is the cable they're putting in? It looks like it's an inch and a half diameter. Who is it for?
I don't know.
I don't know either. Do you know, John?
No.
I don't know either.
No.
That's a need to know thing.
I don't know. It's a big
Well,
cable.
bottom line is, if the judge feels he needs to
Yeah.
stop him, stop him.
Right. If he declares emergency, if he has the authority.
Well, it's not just 911 traffic on those lines.
Right.
It's everything.
Yeah,
Sure.
that's right.
Sure.
I mean, for our phones to be down during this crisis is
It's not good.
Well, it's not just
Unacceptable.
this, it's, people need ambulances and
Yes.
they need to, that stuff keeps going on.
I think it's a good.
So
reason to do
I'm
it.
looking to my county attorney. You may need to cover me on this one.
Good reason to declare emergency.
It's a go.
Okay.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is 1.5, update on the Hill Country Youth Event Center. I don't know if Jake's out there. Jake? Thanks, Mark.
Judge, if I may, think about that. Go a scenario. If we have if you declare an emergency, which is, okay, then that enables you to tell a contractor, stop, okay? You could, right now you've got dual pass if the fix is in there. So what you could do is you could tell the contractor, if the line is cut again and went down to single path, that you're cease and desist.
That's exactly
That
what I
way-
was trying to say.
Yeah, that way he can keep working, but knowing if he cuts it again until you get
But there's
dual path.
multiple contractors. It's not just one
Well,
contractor.
so he can tell all of them. Yeah.
Anything that I might do with those emergency powers
Yeah,
will be in close conjunction with HCTC,
Yeah,
Windstream, and 911,
Good.
and TxDOT and the contractors.
Right.
And
Good.
we may have to sit down and cuss and discuss,
Right.
but we will protect the people of the county.
And TxDOT is opposed. I thought I
They're
heard
they're
you
just
say
they're
that.
just
they
they're
just want
just
to get
the
the work
state.
done, how they're right.
You bet.
They're just the state.
Right. Okay.
What can I say? Okay, Jake.
Good morning.
Morning.
Thanks for taking the time today. I just wanted to come and give a, brief update as to operations at the event center, as we're one that works on discretionary income and revenue for y'all. We just want to make sure that you guys have all the information you have as decisions come up in the future. So, simply put, this is absolutely hits home to us with events not being allowed. At least through April 3rd, if not the foreseeable future past that. So just want to let you guys know that currently we're operating on appointments only. We're not closed because we have a lot of things on the books. We have a very full schedule. As soon as anything's rescinded, we're in full operations. So we're being very flexible. It's very fluid. We're in contact with all groups for the next 4 months, pretty much every day. Started just an email chain, let them know changes, anything that might come up, and we're working with everybody very hands-on. So immediate impact of what we're looking at is we've already had to reschedule or postpone 15 contracted events through this time period, including 4-H and other free use events. We've lost 67 event days. So that's a very significant portion of our calendar that's been affected with immediate repercussions from the onset of this.
Jake, if you will keep a accurate record with the dollar amount of each of these may be reimbursable by the federal government.
Correct.
So we need to keep it in very accurate detail, and any of your staff, I don't know how your staff would be because it's on call regardless, but anything we're doing beyond the normal scope of your work or your people's work, but definitely all the events that are canceled, keep track of that if you would.
And so at this time, all those.
And the estimated lost revenue.
Absolutely. Our estimated lost revenue, of course, is fluctuating because some of these events we were able to keep in this fiscal year. Others we have not. So for prudence sake, these are a lot of annual events that have actually hit right now. So we're trying to, if we can push that money to the next fiscal year but save their event, that makes sense for everybody. Let's keep them here. Let's do these things now to help everybody through this situation. If this extends into May, June, we're looking at a lot of one-time private events that probably cannot be rescheduled. And we're looking at alternatives to come up with something for those.
And one event was the Easter Fest, and we had the mass gathering permit that they had filed. I did not grant that permit. They were very accommodating. They came in and recognized the problems, and it was really by agreement that we did not do that. And that would be there at the Youth Event Center.
The parking lot.
In parking lot.
Yeah.
Another one that we have a mass gathering permit that we had was with for the Folklife Festival, and that's been withdrawn, just so that you know. And I have no plans of issuing any mass gathering permits for the time being.
Big problem you have, I would think, is, even if it's postponed, you got other events down the road that you might not be able to have dates for people if they want to postpone.
Correct. So that's why this fiscal year is going to have a direct impact, but it will extend into next fiscal as well.
Sure.
As people book a year in advance, those that are in employment fluctuation at the time that would have been booking a private party, they're not going to be doing that. So, that's the repercussions, the overall economic impact of what we're going through. Everybody's going through it. But we're there for those folks. We continue to operate. We already have a small staff. We have one working from home to limit her exposure in any way, just because she's in the risk demographic. And we have those abilities to do those things. So we're operating as we can. We're rotating shifts in case one of us unfortunately would go down. We have backup. That's really how we have to operate, because we don't have backups past our core. We have went into fiscal mitigation. We've canceled any projects we would have had coming up that required purchasing that we had budgeted for at this time until we know the full impact. But if we have supplies on site, we've already started maintenance projects, and we're making sure that when we do reopen fully, the place is going to look new, clean, ready to go. Not that it was just shut down and we came back whenever. So those are the things we are doing to make sure that we are staying up to date, so that when we do get the order, when we do get the word, where there's no hesitation, we're already ready to go.
Have people put deposits on these
Correct.
events, and do you have to reimburse, or you're holding them? What's the mood of most of them?
Per the contract, the county does have a reserved right. If we cancel the contract, they would get a full refund. We have not invoked any of that. We've elected for postponement, saying that will hold their deposits for a later date.
Okay.
That's just, if it becomes next fiscal year, right now, if this doesn't extend too much further, our financials, although we're taking a hit, we won't make our record revenue that we were looking at. We're still in line with budget. So we're one of the lucky event centers in the entire country at this stage, because we don't take risk on events. We're all rental, things of that. But the industry has, of course, crashed, and it's going to affect a lot of people. We are lucky in isolation a bit here, but it can't last for any more of an extended period of time to not cause drastic financial bottom line issues at this event center.
Okay.
Very good. Keep doing the best work you can. We appreciate it.
Will do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jack.
Item 1.6, consider, discuss, and take appropriate action to approve repairs of the rainwater catchment tank at the Hill Country Youth Event Center.
I put this on the agenda. The company that installed that originally was Rainwater Systems. Barry Wall gave us an estimate. That estimate's been turned into our insurance company. His business, it's a small operation, wants to continue to work. So my preference would be that as soon as we get the insurance check, that we go ahead and authorize repairs. So I'll make a motion that as soon as we receive the insurance proceeds for the damage to the rainwater catchment tank at the Hill Country Event Center, that we authorize the county judge to enter into the contract with Barry Wall's company, Rainwater Systems Inc., to make such repairs.
I second.
The motion's been made by Commissioner Letts and seconded by Commissioner Harris to approve the repairs for the rainwater catchment system at the Hill Country Youth Event Center. Is there any other discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous, 5-0.
You've got a couple of timed items, Judge.
Yeah, it is 10:15. We've got two timed items at 10 o'clock. Let me skip down to 1.12, and I think both are with Charlie Hastings. Is he out there, Sheriff? Okay. Item 1.12, consider, discuss, and take appropriate action to authorize county judge to execute a contract amendment with LAN Inc. For easement acquisition services related to the East Kerr County wastewater project, and authorize a Texas Water Development Board
Yes, sir.
budget transfer to fund the same. Mr. Hastings.
Thank you. The easement acquisition process for the project that we've been talking about lacks two easements and one simple fee tract. one sewer easement due to realignment of the sewer main, one fee simple tract due to the relocation of a pumping station in the Verity Creek Boulevard area, and one easement due to encroachments. There was a hay barn constructed over a sewer easement that we acquired. Kerr County's easement acquisition consultant, LAN Inc., has prepared an additional services scope in the amount not to exceed $23,380. A Texas Water Development Board project number 10366 budget transfer in the amount of $23,380 from the contingency to the easement acquisition line item under the L1000484 funding source is required to fund the additional services from the easement acquisition consultant and costs associated with purchasing the fee simple tract and the easements. The county engineer requests the court to authorize the county judge to execute a contract amendment with LAN Inc. in the amount not to exceed $23,380 and authorize a Texas Water Development Board project number 10366 budget transfer in the amount of $23,380 from the contingency to the easement acquisition line item under the L1484 funding source to fund the same. It's precincts 2 and 3.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Moser and seconded by Commissioner Letts to approve the budget transfer item of, what, $23,383? Any further discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous, 5-0. Let's move on to 1.13. Consider, discuss, and take appropriate action for the court to set a public hearing for 10 a.m. on April the 27th, 2020, to cancel the revision of plat for Horizon Section 1, Lot 36R, plat file 19-00762. Mr. Hastings.
Thank you. The owner, Charles Robertson, owns 2 lots currently. He replatted them into 1 lot, and now he's wishing to revert back to 2 lots again. It just wasn't beneficial for it to stay 1 lot. We run this through environmental health to make sure there weren't going to be any issues with reverting back to the old configuration. And issues would be things like building the septic tank over a lot line, and then if you revert back and it's over the lot line, that would be an issue. They said there's no issues. So this proposal would cancel the revision of plat for Horizon Section 1, Lot 36R, which is plat file number 19-00762, which combined lots 36 and 37. This proposed plat cancellation returns Lot 36R, which is a total of 14.15 acres, to lots 36, 7.6 acres, and 37, 6.55 acres, as previously platted in Volume 6, page 391. These lots are in the floodplain and must meet floodplain development regulations. The county engineer requests the court set a public hearing for 10 a.m. on April 27th, 2020 to cancel the revision of plat for Horizon Section 1, Lot 36R, plat file number 19-00762, Precinct 1.
Question for county attorney. Can we set a public hearing if we can't have the public at the hearing?
Well, you're able to have the meetings virtually. I don't know that you want to set a public hearing.
Yeah, but if you can't have the public here, they can't participate.
Well, there are ways that they'll be able to
Sure.
participate, like calling in, like the judge announced at the beginning. They can submit questions and comments
Okay.
before the meetings. There are ways to do it. Whether y'all want to do that or not at this time, I don't know.
So the answer to the question, we can have a public hearing and handle it by this other virtual methods.
Yeah.
You can,
Okay,
yes.
all right, good enough, yeah.
I move for approval.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Ballew and seconded by Commissioner Letts to approve the public meeting for April 27. Is there any other discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous, 5-0. Okay, thank you, Charlie.
Thank you.
We'll go back up to 1.7. Sheriff, is Reagan Gibbons out there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, consider, discuss, and take appropriate action to accept donations from citizens for animal services. Funds to be used to purchase microchips.
Morning.
Mr. Reagan. Mr. Gibbons.
Yes, sir, we received recently $225 in total from 3 different citizens. Each of them, they did not specify microchips, they just said for our animals. So everybody's been pretty consistent with okay that we use it for microchips a lot. So I'd like to put it in our microchip line item, if that's all right.
I'll make a motion that we accept 3 donations, a total of $225, and put it in the microchip line item of the ACAS budget.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Letts and seconded by Commissioner Harris to approve the accepting of the gifts for the microchips for animal services. Any further discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous, 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Reagan. Item 1.8, I guess Ms. Doss is out there. Consider, discuss, and take appropriate action to renew the ACA Reporting and Tracking Service, the ARTS Program Agreement between Texas Association of Counties and Kerr County, and have the county judge sign the same. Ms. Doss.
Yes, sir. This is just an annual renewal that has to do with the Affordable Care Act reporting and tracking system, and TAC prepares the 1095C forms for us.
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Letts and seconded by Commissioner Moser to approve the renewal of the contract with TAC for the arts program. Any further discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous, 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 1.9, consider, discuss, and take appropriate action to approve the submission of TAC, Texas Association of Counties Property Renewal Schedule.
This is an annual thing that we do. We are have filled out the questionnaire. I think that's attached in the backup. The schedule we are looking at, mainly because of the wastewater project, exactly how we include certain parts of that. The lift stations are all itemized already, but we're looking now at the sewer lines in the ground. But once that list is completely compiled, we will forward this in, and there is a deadline, I believe, the 30th of March.
And this is with regard to renewal of our insurance.
Is this insurance renewal of our property insurance? So I make a motion that we authorize submission of the property insurance renewal.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Letts and seconded by Commissioner Moser to approve the renewal of the property renewal schedule for our insurance purposes. Any further discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous, 5-0.
One question, Jonathan, is that, since we got the horseshoe facility from Mooney, is that included in our property?
I'll check.
Okay.
It goes, I believe it is, but
Okay.
we'll check it. Maybe a new value placed on it.
Okay, good enough.
Okay. Item 1.10, consider, discuss, and take appropriate action regarding the list of reimbursable items for volunteer fire departments.
Oh, I'm going to pass on that. There was something came in from one of the volunteer fire departments for a reimbursable item to be added, and asked them to have CARFA submit a request. So they have not done that yet, so.
Well, while we've got this topic before the court, I do want to report that Commissioner Harris and I met with CARFA. I'm losing track of time. Was that 2 weeks ago,
Week
Don?
before last,
Yes. And they're very pleased with the way we've redone the contracts with them, which was enheartening for us. It seems to be been a hit. They did mention some things to us that we ought to put on our radar screen. They like the contract. They'd like for us to put more things in the contract. So instead of taking things out of the contract, they want us to put more things in it. And we talk. And the only thing that's on the agenda are the reimbursables, and that's one of the things that we talked about.
That's what I couldn't talk to you about this
Right, I
morning.
understand.
So as we do this, this is something that we probably want to involve CARFA as well as the individual volunteer fire departments, because they do have input. And I've only talked about what's on the agenda, but there are other things that they want to talk about, other issues that they want to talk about adding to the contract. Okay. Item 1.11. Consider, discuss, and take appropriate action to determine whether to allow the retail fireworks permit holders to sell fireworks to the public in celebration of San Jacinto Day. Anybody want to do that?
Well, after the last round for Texas Independence Day, and we had Mr. Jeffers in here speaking, and what they're doing with the money when they sell these different things, helping the church and their youth camps and stuff, I move for approval.
I second.
Okay, the motion's been made by Commissioner Harris, seconded by Commissioner Blue to approve the sale of fireworks for San Jacinto Day. Any further discussion?
May I add that this is sort of in the face of the governor's declaration to focus on essential needs in the community and essential things like groceries, and this is,
I think
This is
that
what?
as many local businesses that we can encourage stay open and operate
That's
right
right.
now, we should.
I agree.
You know, if you don't like it, you don't have to go there.
Right.
I mean, abide by the governor's,
Right.
rules, but I applaud businesses that are able to, that safely continue to operate.
And we've had plenty of rain, so.
Good deal.
You bet. We need more outside activities.
Yeah.
Hopefully people don't do these indoors.
They will not do the indoors.
I don't know, we have a big egg barn out there with internal.
Is there any other discussion about the fireworks sales? Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous, 5-0. Okay, Sheriff, we need the auditor. Going to move on to the approval agenda. Huh?
Oh, yeah, we've got an
Oh,
addendum.
yeah, we want one.
Oh, 1.4, yeah.
Yeah, recycle.
1.14. 1.14, consider, discuss, and take appropriate action to determine whether or not to suspend the county recycling program due to COVID-19 health and safety concerns.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Yes,
A couple of my guys brought some of their concerns to me about the recycle trailer of everybody putting their recycles, plastics in with the potential for the coronavirus. So my question to you is what we're doing now is wearing the glove and medical mask while we're doing that. My question is, should we continue on with that or maybe temporarily suspend the recycle trailer?
And I put it on the agenda because
Sit down, Mr. Walker. Mr. Evans.
I thought it might be a good idea to suspend it for a while during all this. They're doing a lot of extra work as it is, as far as getting things up to snuff, and we're throwing new things at them all the time. So I thought it might be a good idea to suspend it, but that's open for discussion.
My thought is that the more people you have at home, the more there's gonna be a need for it. If you're at home 8 hours a day instead of, 6 hours at night, they're plowing through groceries.
Yeah.
Because they're eating out of boredom, they're gonna have all kinds of stuff piling up. They can take it to the dump themselves.
Sure.
I think it's a good practice to use the gloves and the mask all the time, personally, dealing with trash.
I would think so.
Recyclables or whatever.
Oh, I continue on with it then?
What do you want to do?
Well,
You gotta make your staff happy.
well, that was, I'm doing this to, put their concerns to rest. It's the whole purpose of it. If they deem necessary that we have to, keep on with the recycle, we're gonna do that. That's, because
But as the department head, do you feel like discontinuing the recycling would protect the health and safety of your staff?
potentially, yes, sir, for the,
Do you consider it significant enough? I mean, do you consider it essential service or non-essential service?
well, it's not an essential service, but,
Okay.
it's a free service, that we're providing.
How much do they come in contact with the stuff?
When they're removing the cardboard, it's hands-on.
Oh, I see. Good.
And then the plastic water bottles that everybody's drinking off of, sometimes they have to crawl inside the trailer to get those things out, to get all the,
Sure.
recycle out.
That's on the trailer that has the slots in it.
Well, that's both of them. I mean,
Both.
because-
Either way.
I see this as a
Done.
health and safety issue.
I do too. So therefore, I move that we suspend operations for the near future.
Second.
Okay, the motion's been made by Commissioner Harris, seconded by Commissioner Letts to suspend the recycling operations for health and safety concerns until the crisis passes. Is there any other discussion?
It's a non-essential service, that's key, what Shane said there. So
We could, if we put that on the website, and I'm gonna vote for it, but we also let people know that they can take their recyclables to the landfill on 534.
Yes,
So
sir.
that'll be open, and that's just them putting it in a dumpster. So
Yep.
we'll put that on the website if we put this on, that we're suspending this.
And I would like for the record to reflect that we have to balance the health and safety of the public with our staff as well.
We're working through this.
Yeah, that's right. And this is a work in progress, and this is something that we have to do together. And so if they want to continue the recycling, they're certainly welcome to do it on their own.
All right,
I think-
My only question is, how long is, are we going to do this?
We'll let you know.
Until
That's
further
right.
notice.
All right.
That's right. And I think the public.
That's as good as we can
understands.
do.
Yes, I
Shane?
understand.
As the
Lisa-
president says, we'll see.
Yes, sir.
Tell the class
Lisa
we're-
Walters had asked me about this in an email, so I will respond to her that we will suspend operations and to be determined.
Put it on the website.
Yes, sir. That, she will do that.
Yeah, she'll get a press release out, I'm sure.
Okay.
She's getting press releases out
She's
2 and 3 a
flying-
day.
They're flying.
I know.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks, Shane.
Thanks, Shane.
Will you recall item 1.1, please, Judge?
Okay. Item 1.1, consider, discuss, and take appropriate action regarding update facility use and other matters related to COVID-19.
I got a letter from Judge Emerson. He was called out, but wanted to let you all know that district courts are still hearing cases. All non-essential cases will be heard by teleconference or until our Zoom accounts are confirmed. Upon confirmation, cases will be heard by Zoom with YouTube channel observations to comply with the open courts requirements. It has already set up separate YouTube channels for the 198, IT, not it, 216th and 6th Administrative Region. In custody criminal law cases will still be heard in person on a staggered time frame to minimize the number of persons present. He said, please let him know if you have any questions. He's glad to answer.
And I'm glad we have that clarification on the record, especially with the YouTube broadcast of this. That was something that was in this morning's paper that was incorrect. The district courts are open. You haven't seen the article, but it
Is that
said they
another
were closed.
reimbursable item for IT since they're having to do all this extra work? It's-
Probably.
Right, I think so.
Probably, yes.
Right.
Now, I have been told that the reimbursement process is arduous and frustrating.
I'm sure so.
No doubt.
But we will undertake it. Okay, so with that, we move on to the approval agenda. And we have our auditor here, Ms. Tanya Shelton. Item 2.1, pay the bills.
Yes. So invoices for this week for Kerr County, we have $243,913.76. Airport, $3,208.45. Adult probation, $20,774.28. Juvenile probation, $3,067.21. District clerk fees, $7,481.31. Plateau water planning, $431.95. 216th DA forfeiture fund, $449.85. And the 198th DA forfeiture fund, $870.81.
Move we pay the bills as presented by the auditor.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Moser, seconded by Commissioner Blue to pay the bills as presented. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous, 5-0. Budget amendments, I think we have two.
We have two. The first one is $280, and this is for the flooring for the Union Church. And then the second one is moving funds from drug testing into counseling for the specialty drug court.
Move for approval.
Second.
Okay, the motion's been made by Commissioner Letts, seconded by Commissioner Harris to approve the budget amendments as presented. Any further discussion?
I'm gonna, on the $280 on the Union Church, was there some kind of change in scope of work or something?
I don't think it was. I think it was just the estimate was off a little bit.
Yeah, the estimate was like 3,200 or something, if I remember correctly.
It came in closer to 35.
He came in last week and was telling us about the subflooring.
Right,
And
yeah.
just a little
Yeah, but
improvements.
did he mention then it was gonna cost more?
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
he did. He didn't know how much.
Okay. I don't know why I forgot that.
The
Okay.
floor looks fantastic.
And it's sturdy. And ladies aren't gonna get their high heels stuck in.
Good. All those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous, 5-0. Late bills,
There are not any.
auditor reports.
There are not any.
Thank you. Okay, item 2.5, monthly reports.
All right, for February 2020, standard monthly report from Constable Precinct 4 Gene Huffaker. Fines, judgments, and jury fees collected for JP4 Bill Ragsdale. Animal Services Monthly Activity Report, Director Reagan Gibbons. Human Resources and Indigent Services Report, Director Jennifer Doss. County Clerk Jackie J.D. Dowdy. And County Treasurer's Financial Accounts Report, Tracy Saldan. And I move for approval.
Second.
Okay, the motion been made by Commissioner Harris, seconded by Commissioner Letts to approve the monthly reports as presented. Is there any further discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous, 5-0. Item 2.6, court orders.
Yes, Judge, we have the court orders from our March 16th, 2020 meeting. It's court orders 38015 through 38019. There were two slight changes. 38016 corrected the spelling of Lonnie. It's listed originally as Lannie, and it's Lonnie. And on 38017, I asked that it be modified by adding the word opioid in it. So it reads now, approve that Kerr County opt out of federal opioid class action lawsuit. Thought it was a little bit clearer. I move for approval of the court orders as corrected.
Second.
Okay, motion been made by Commissioner Letts, seconded by Commissioner Harris to approve the court orders as corrected. Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous, 5-0. Move on to the information agenda. Item 3.1, status reports from department heads.
Yes, sir. I just wanted to address the Families First Coronavirus Response Act that we're required as an employer, that was passed on Friday, to pay employees 80 hours of sick leave if they meet certain criteria, and one of which is if their child's school or daycare is closed. And I've already received numerous calls on that. So I think we're going to be developing some time entry codes to take that into consideration. Also, I had a question. If the employees live in Bexar County, and apparently Bexar County is shut down, they'd have a travel ban, are they required to come to work? So that was the question.
They have a travel ban?
That's my question.
I would say that if their job, depends where the job is. If it's an essential job, I would think they should, but I may need to get a letter from the county judge or someone say it's an essential employee. But it'd be up to the discretion of, to me, the department heads and elected officials.
Okay.
Does that work?
That works?
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
If your employees are gonna get the paid sick leave, okay, you know, if they are non-essential here, what if they're just sitting home and don't have sick leave?
Say again?
Say it again?
You mean if they're out of...
Question that I'd asked. You know, they said that we should be paying paid sick leave for all these people, but if it's just for cutting staffing for a while. They're not sick, but you're cutting the staff of the courthouse in half or 50% of elected officials. How are those employees going to be compensated that are sent home during that time?
Do we have a county policy for layoff?
I don't think we're talking about layoffs.
Well, that's what it sounds like. You're gonna send somebody...
You're saying you're reducing, you know,
Staff.
where the county clerk was gonna be operating off, you know, like half force for a while, or some of these were sending employees home, and you're not operating at full staff because of just a shortage. Are all county employees supposed to still be reporting to work, or are you going to allow the elected official to send some home? And if they are you going to pay those employees for being at home?
Where I'm coming from on this is I appreciate that our HR director has advised us of the recent legislative enactments, and I understand whatever we're required to do, the county will certainly meet its obligation. But with regard to a decision about these issues today, that's really not on the agenda, so we don't really have notice of it. And I think it's something that needs to have more careful study into how we ought to handle all of this as we go forward. It's not like we're not going to have plenty of time to figure this out.
That's right. I would think a lot of departments could catch up on other things if they're not continuously involved with the public like normal days.
And if they're working, I've heard from several departments, if they're sending people to work from home, people are able to access remotely, like, for example, when my attorneys are home, when we're on a rotation, they have access to everything that we do on their computers. IT has taken very good care of our staff, and so they're able to do work from home and communicate. You know, if they want to sit up and work at 4 a.m., they're able to do that.
Sure. And I think the various elected officials and department heads know their offices much better than we do right here. And when we get down to this, they'll be able to explain exactly what was done and how it was done, and the work products that were generated as a result of it. But I just don't think that's something that we can decide today.
But I mean, I tend to think in general that county employees are expected to work and make arrangements to work, and if they're sick, they're sick. But it's not a vacation day. And if they're capable of working, they should work either and make arrangements with their elected official or department head as to how to accomplish that. It may mean coming in, it may mean working remotely.
And I think we all need to be aware, not only the court and the elected officials and department heads, but all the employees. The public is watching. And so if this is being abused, I invite the public to report it to us so that we can address it appropriately.
Good question.
Item 3.2, status reports from elected officials. Item 3.3, status reports from liaison commissioners. Had a pretty thorough day. Do we have anything we want to take up in executive session? Okay. Then, that being the case, we will be adjourned. Thank you.